Hey everyone, this is Bridget with Homegate Real Estate. Jeremy and I are here and we are going to talk about the contract to buy and sell real estate, residential. This is your offer. This is what you will be filling out when you represent a buyer in a transaction. This offer document was updated in January 2020. So there are a few changes you need to be aware of. It's made a little simpler than before, but they did add a whole nother page to the end of it. So it used to be 8 pages and now it's 9. So here we are with the offer, and let's go ahead and fill it out together. So you find this offer in zip forms. That's the best place to find it. In the CTAR website, click on zip forms, and then it will take you over here to this page. I'm going to skip my renewal. And I've created a transaction over here, Untitled. I go to add document, add form, and it's under agreement to buy and sell residential 1/20. That means it was updated January 20th. So we'll go ahead here, click on it. Now you will usually be using this when you are filling out an offer for a buyer. So my buyer today is going to be Jeremy Beggs. Is that okay with you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm buying a house.
You ready to buy a house? Now Jeremy is going to buy his own listing for today, which you can do. We can talk about that another time, but just for this purpose, we're going to go ahead and use 430 Barfield Drive. So to get the seller's name, the easiest way to do that without pulling up the deed, which I recommend pulling up the deed if you want to be thorough, is to go over here to the listing, pull up CRS tax info, and it usually will tell you pretty easily what the seller's name is. And they put in here last name first, first name, and then middle. So I'm going to take that, Gary Wayne Duncan, and I'm going to put it over here in my offer because he's the seller. If the name is not so easily distinguishable, you will need to go to the county website and pull up the deed and see how it's written that way. That I can show you real quickly. So this is Dorchester County. And then you will want to go to, I think it's treasurer. Nope, that's not how you do it. That's not going to show you the deed, but it will tell you the tax information. So what you can do here is, so 430 Barfield, maybe not, Drive, here we go. Well, that's awesome. It's not even on here. Let's do it this way. Dorchester County deeds. I'll show you the real way to do it. dorchestercounty.dorchestercountysc.gov. Here we go. Click on I accept. So I already found out that the name was Duncan, which is important. You're going to need that. And his first name is Gary. Search. I'm just going to check all of these so I can pull up every document and then display detail listing. Now this shows everything in my seller's name. So it looks like he has a mortgage, a satisfaction. He's got a deed. Oh, and he's got a lien. Uh-oh. Jeremy, we might need to know about this. He's got a lien from his homeowners association. So let's click on the PDF. Looks like somebody hasn't been paying their HOA dues. Lien of record. Assessments in the sum of $36.25. So we're gonna need that. That's gonna come out of closing when he pays. When somebody buys his house, that's gonna have to come out of his seller's proceeds. Very glad we found that. Okay. Gonna update that on our seller net sheet. So back over here, deed. We want deed. So click on PDF. And this is the deed from 1996. Looks like he paid $1. Paid by Gary Wayne Duncan. 430 Barfield Drive. So this is what his deed looks like. Title to real estate. So Nancy Mae Duncan is the person who had the property before, and Gary Wayne Duncan is the new owner. And the tax map number is right here, 152-140-2011. And the way this is written out is how we will use the name. There we go. On the offer. So Gary Wayne Duncan. A good way to make sure you're filling everything out that you need to is to just hit the tab button. It'll tab you to everything you need. Okay. Now C, closing attorney is a licensed South Carolina attorney selected by the buyer to coordinate the transaction and closing. You can put any attorney in here that the buyer wants to use. Make sure you have a conversation with the buyer, asking them which attorney they want to use. It's great to have recommendations. You can give a few different recommendations is what I would suggest. Jeremy, who do you want to use for your closing attorney when you're buying this property?
I'll use Holiday Ingram.
Holiday Ingram. Any particular reason why you want to use Holiday Ingram?
Because I think they do an excellent job.
Okay. The next part asks if either the buyer or the seller are South Carolina real estate licensees. That would be if the seller was a licensee, we would check the box for seller, but he's not. However, Jeremy is a South Carolina real estate licensee, so we are going to check this box. The next section asks if you are representing your buyer as a client or customer. Now, Jeremy, have you filled out a buyer's agency agreement with yourself?
Yes, I have.
You have? Okay, good. So then you are a client. If you did not fill out a buyer's agency agreement with yourself, what would you fill out? Transaction broker agreement. And then you'd be a customer.
I don't want to be a customer.
You don't want to be?
I want to be a client.
Now, when you're filling out this offer, don't fill out the part for the seller. Hopefully, the seller's agent will indicate whether or not the seller is a client or customer, and then you'll know if they filled out a buyer's agency agreement or a transactional broker agreement with the seller's agent. Now, Jeremy, how much do you want to pay for this property? It's listed at $540. Is that what your offer price is going to be?
$489,000 is what I would like to offer.
Wow, that's a $50,000 decrease. All right, I don't know if he's going to take that. So 489,000, and I hit tab, so the words for that number automatically populate. 489,000. Now, are you going to pay for this with finance, a combination of finance and cash, or cash?
Combination of finance and cash.
Okay. Are you going to provide a verification of cash available to closing?
I am not.
You're not? Okay. So that would be a letter from a bank or a copy of the bank statement that says how much the buyer has in there to prove that you had money to buy it. So we don't have to click this. If you're writing an all cash offer and you don't have a letter with you to verify how much money the buyer has to buy the property, you would check this box and just ask your buyer when they would be able to have the letter from the bank. So if I'm writing an offer today, I would probably put by Tuesday or Wednesday. It really depends on if your buyer has access to printing out their own bank account statement. If they're comfortable with that, I'd recommend blacking out the letters to their bank account. But usually you just get a letter from a bank teller that says that they have sufficient funds or they have over 50,000 or something like that. So we don't have to fill this out because Jeremy's doing a combination of cash and finance. Sounds like he has a sizable down payment. Now, Jeremy, is this offer going to be contingent upon the sale and closing of your current real property?
It was not.
It's not. So you don't have to sell a house in order to buy the new house?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to check. The contract is not contingent and the SCR 504 is not attached. The SCR 504 that's the document that lists what is the exact property that Jeremy is selling if he were to be selling one to be able to qualify for this house. So next is the address of the property. This is 430 Barfield Drive. And then the city is in Somerville. And the zip code is 29485. Yes. County of, it's actually Dorchester. This was pre-populated to an offer that I wrote a long time ago. Now, lot, block, section, phase, subdivision, tax map. This is everything that you can find in the CRS tax data. When we clicked over here from the listing, this is what populated. So if you scroll down, legal description, subdivision, Walnut Farms, block lot D7, and I'm gonna copy and paste the tax ID because I am not gonna remember that number. But the block is D and the lot is 7. So let's remember that. Block is D and the lot is 7. There was no section phase. And that was, oops, Walnut Farms. This is subdivision. Tax map. This is where I want to paste it. Okay. This is a very, very important spot right here. Items to convey. This is where you put refrigerators, microwaves, stove, kitchen appliances, washer, dryer, light fixtures, blinds, curtains, anything else that the buyer might want. I have seen TVs that are wall mounted included in here. I have seen people ask for patio furniture, porch furniture, pool furniture, pool supplies. What else?
Sheds.
Sheds, storage sheds.
Mm-hmm.
Say that 5 times fast.
Specific light fixtures.
Specific light fixtures. Yes, sometimes somebody will have a chandelier that was passed down from generations. We had that in one of our properties. So we've also had people ask for specific wall hangings. Make sure you ask your buyer if there's anything they want to convey, and definitely put refrigerator in there if they want the fridge. Gosh, I could tell you about a story that happened. Fortunately, we were representing the seller and it worked out in our client's favor, but yeah, that buyer's agent didn't put a refrigerator in there, and I think she bought her buyers a fridge. to make them happy. All right, so what we will put here, let's say all kitchen appliances to include refrigerator, and then we'll say washer and dryer, all window blinds, and what else? Light fixtures and mirrors will convey at no value. A lot of lenders want at no value to be put in there as well. So I just happened to do it as a habit now. So section number 4, page 2, closing date, on or before. This is where you put when your buyers want to close. Make sure you ask your buyers if they can attend in person. Normally it takes 30 days to close. We are looking at Thanksgiving time, so I'm going to put an extra couple days, November 30th. This part is where you write how the deed will be conveyed. You'll want to talk to your buyers about how do they want this, how the deed to be written out. Sometimes you'll have one spouse buying the house, but they want the title to be in both spouses' names. So, Jeremy, do you want me to be on the house after you buy it?
Oh, of course I want you to be on
So
the
you
house,
want-
my love.
Okay. So we would put Jeremy Beggs, Bridget Beggs. I mean, we could put our kids' names on here too. You can put whoever you want. Just make sure you discuss that with your buyer. If you don't know, you could leave it blank, or sometimes I've even put to be determined. Next is the earnest money section. This is how much money that the buyer wants to put down. How much earnest money are you going to be offering for this property?
$5,000.
Well, that's a lot.
It's about 1% almost.
1% of the purchase price is a good rule of thumb. At the end of the day, it just depends on what your buyer wants to put down.
It's all negotiable.
It is all negotiable. So, do you have a $5,000 check right now, or can I get that from you in a couple days?
I'm going to wire it directly to the attorney.
Okay, so what we will put here is 0 accompanies this offer, which we can't write 0. So I override this and I type in a space bar and then I put my 0. And I'm going to say 5,000 will be paid by 6 p.m. on. When do you want to pay the 5,000?
Within 2 days of ratification.
Within 2 days of ratification. Well, we don't know when this is going to be ratified, so let's pick a specific date.
Let's pick the 28th of
28th.
October.
Okay, that will give us a couple days to negotiate with the seller, and it can definitely be wired before then. So earnest money is in the form of a check, cash. He said wire, so I'm going to check the box that says other and type in wire. And then this is where we write the escrow agent in here. Homegate Real Estate does not hold earnest money. Please do not give me a check from your buyers to hold for them. Just write it out, have the buyers write it out to the attorney that they chose at the beginning. So Jeremy's attorney is Holiday Ingram. And now we can go down here. Let's see here. Parties understand that all circumstances, agent will not disperse earnest money to either party until both parties had executed an agreement. If legal actions occur, disbursement, okay. Parties agree that this is a certain amount of money shall be paid to the escrow agent by the parties as compensation before escrow agent initiates a court of competent jurisdiction. Oh boy. So this would be if, oh my goodness, something happened and parties decided the transaction wasn't going to work out. Does your escrow agent get to keep a certain amount of money? I usually say no. I think attorneys are making pretty much enough money on the transactions that they're helping for us. I don't think our buyers or sellers are going to want to compensate them just for holding the earnest money. So I'm going to say $0 on here. Transaction costs. This is where you would write in the closing costs that the buyer wants. Jeremy, do you want any closing costs from the seller?
Yes.
How many do you want?
I would like $7,000.
You want $7,000? Okay. So we'll put that in here. I skipped this part. This is a little extra kind of catch-all paragraph. And it basically says if there are certain fees that come up that aren't normally known as buyer's fees or seller's fees, then who is going to pay them? If I'm representing the buyer, I'm probably going to say that this is going to be the seller's fee. Again, it's basically who's on the hook for the what ifs, the unknowns. Who wants to take that risk? I've never seen anything come up where these fees were more than a couple $100s, if that. So just have the conversation with your client. Some people adamantly refuse to take on any of that risk and they just say, I will not accept it. Just try to negotiate it with the cooperating broker as best you can. But it's normally not that big of an issue. Okay, section 7. Jeremy already told us that he was going to be putting down cash and he was going to be financing. So, Jeremy, do you want to make this contract contingent on you being able to get financing?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So that way, if he can't get financing, he's not on the hook for the purchase. Now, do you know if you're getting a 15 or 30 year or other type of mortgage?
15 year.
Oh, you're getting a 15. You don't want to do a 30?
No.
No, most people do 30.
Oh.
Do you know what your maximum percentage of the purchase price is that you're going to be financing? Normally, this number is 96.5 if they're doing a 3.5% down payment.
I'm putting 20% down.
You're putting 20% down. Wow, that's a lot for a $500,000 house. Let's put 80% is the maximum of the purchase price that he's going to finance, and he said he's putting 20% down. So we would put 80. Buyer shall apply for financing by, when do you think you could apply for financing by?
By the 29th.
29th? A couple days before Halloween?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, do you have a pre-approval letter already?
Yes.
All right. Are you going to be providing it with this offer?
Absolutely.
You are? Okay. So that would be this date. So he's already done that part. So October 29th shouldn't be that big of a problem. Now, when do you think that you can have all of this extra figured out by? Pre-final loan approval? Let's give him another week to do that or so. And then if the buyer changes the lender, how many days do you want to notify the seller within?
I missed your question. I'm sorry.
If you plan on changing lenders, how many days notice do you want to give your seller?
A couple of days.
A couple of days? Okay, so if he changes his lender, he should tell me, or actually, you should tell the selling agent, your client. All right, lender may change. Who are you going to use?
I'm going to use CMG Mortgage.
CMG Mortgage. Are you doing an FHA, VA, conventional?
Conventional.
Okay. A seller mortgage would be if the seller was accepting monthly payments. We don't really see that. We don't have an FHA or VA financing addendum, so we're going to say is not attached. Additional financing terms are not attached. Now, Jeremy, do you want to do a repair procedure Or do you want to do a due diligence period?
Due diligence period.
You want to do due diligence. Okay. So these right here, you check one or the other. So due diligence is basically what I call it get out of jail free card. The buyer can get out of the contract for any reason during the due diligence period as with no fee as long as they have 0 termination fee in here. Sometimes sellers will not accept that. They don't want to take their house off the market for nothing if Jeremy decides that one day he doesn't want to buy this house. So sometimes you'll have to negotiate this point. But for starting off, we're going to put 0. If we were going to do a repair procedure, the buyer could only get out of the contract if the seller refused to make certain repairs that are seller paid repairs. Otherwise, the buyer would lose their earnest money. So this is very important that you go over this with your buyer so they know what seller paid repairs are and are not. Very important information. If we were doing a repair procedure, this first blank would be when the buyer needed to have all of the inspections done and be able to send a repair request list to the seller. So I would definitely give at least 2 weeks from today's date when you're writing an offer to give the buyer time to get the property inspected. Sometimes inspectors are backed up. And then you also need to get with your buyer and find out what they want to ask for. So if we were doing repair procedure, I would probably put November 6th. And then this is when you hear back from the seller regarding what repairs. So if you send the seller something on a Friday, you probably want to give them a few days to get back to you. So I would put, so Friday the 30th, I'd probably, November 6th, there we go. I would probably give them a few days. And this also depends on your closing date. Remember what your closing date is if you were to do that. When are we closing? November 30th? Okay. So if we were doing a repair procedure, you would want to make sure that once you negotiate repairs, the seller still has enough time to get the repairs done before closing. So I think that would be good. Since we're not doing repair procedure, I'm going to delete this and go back into due diligence. So due diligence period, you'll want to give yourself maybe 2 or 3 weeks from this, because this is the date that the buyer has to do all the inspections by and negotiate any kind of repairs or money in lieu of repairs. So if we were going to do the 6th, I would probably push it out to the Wednesday after that, kind of like the same date as we were doing up here. Termination fee. I'm representing my buyer. I don't want them to have to pay anything out of pocket if they're terminating. If they want to have that ability to change their mind, this is something you can negotiate with the selling agent if you need to. I'm sorry, the listing agent. As is box. I do not recommend checking this. This would mean that the buyer is buying the house as is. Jeremy, do you want to buy this house as is?
No, that's why I'm doing a due diligence.
Right. If you do have a buyer who wants to buy a house as is, usually you'll have an investor client who wants as is. It's very rare, but you still want to have the right to inspect, and you'll just want to put a date on here, maybe the 11th. That sounds good. Inspection, reinspection rights. Seller grants buyer permission to connect utilities, pay for utilities, and hire professionals to safely connect and operate utilities. I always check this box because I want my buyer to have as many permissions as possible. This would probably come up again with more of an investor buyer buying a house that maybe was foreclosed on or short sale, or if nobody's living in there and the seller turned off all of the utilities. You want your buyer to have the ability to have the utilities turned back on so they can do inspections. 10, appraised value. You want to check the box most of the time that says the contract is contingent upon the property being valued according to lender's appraisal. That way, if the property does not appraise for the purchase price, then you can negotiate with the seller and work that out to move forward with the contract, or the buyer can get out of the contract. So we are not going to check this box. 11, wood infestation report. You are most of the time going to check the box that the sale is contingent on a clean CL 100 termite inspection. This is also something you want to talk to your buyer client about. Does the buyer want to pay for the CL 100, or do they want the seller to pay for it? If your buyer's paying for it, you need to make sure your buyer schedules the CL 100 within the specified time frame. The CL 100 termite inspection is usually about $75, $85 or so. Some termite inspection companies will defer payment until closing day, and then they will get paid out of the master settlement statement. You just need to have that conversation with your clients. Most of the times, it's probably going to be the seller. Your buyer might want the seller to do that. So make sure you're consistent with whatever boxes you're checking. Seller, seller, seller. You could have the buyer select the termite inspection company. That's fine. But if the seller's having the property inspected, the seller needs to deliver timely notice of the report. And you'll want to put either 5 or 7 business days. I've seen 10 business days prior to closing. Jeremy, how many days in advance do you want the CL 100 to be completed by?
15 days in
15 days, that's a lot. Are you expecting there to be problems that the seller needs to fix?
You never know.
You never know. So you want to give enough time here that if issues do come up, the seller can fix them, or the seller can give money to have them fixed if the buyer is willing to do it. That's pretty important. A lot of times lenders will require that there be a clean CL 100, usually with FHA or VA loans. Conventional, I haven't seen that be as much of a problem. And Jeremy's getting a conventional loan in our example here, so he should be fine. All right, home warranty coverage. This is also something that you want to talk to your buyer about. Jeremy, do you want to have a home warranty or not?
I do not.
You don't? Okay. If Jeremy did want a home warranty, we would say that parties agree a home warranty ordered by, you'll put buyer's agent here, because you don't really want the seller's agent to be ordering the home warranty. And the number here is the number that the home warranty is going to cost out of pocket. I know that one of them costs $640. Do you remember? I think it's will be paid by the seller. What have we done in the past? Choice home warranty is one that I know that we've done. But let your buyer pick out a home warranty if they want. Choice home warranty is a good one. American Home Shield is one that I don't really recommend, but some people like them. Home Warranty of America is another good one. There are brochures that you can find on websites, or ask me for recommendations. I'll be happy to send you the information that I have. The big important thing about these is pre-existing conditions. Sounds like health insurance, doesn't it? But some of these contracts will not cover repairs that systems had issues with before. So you'll just want to make sure that your buyer has that information and they're okay with it. Number 16, South Carolina residential property condition disclosure. This is the seller's disclosure. You are usually going to check this box that says the buyer and seller agree that seller has delivered a seller's disclosure. Jeremy, did you get the seller's disclosure?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to check that box. This would only be checked if your buyer is okay with not getting a property condition disclosure. I'm not really sure why they would be okay with that. 19, trust account. Is your buyer okay with the earnest money going into a bank account that can earn interest? Are you okay with the money going into a bank account that can earn interest?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You've got to ask your buyer if they are. Sometimes they're not okay with that, and that is their right. Scrolling down. 28. This would be if you wanted any additional addendums, addenda with the contract. Is there anything else that you want to put in the contract, such as, I don't know, the seller has to pay for a new survey? Is there anything else you want to do?
No.
Nothing? Okay, then we can just leave this blank. If there was something else, you would just say, see attached addendum. And that's where we could specify on a new document what that stipulation is, such as seller to pay for new survey prior to closing. But we can just leave that blank. Expiration of offer. Jeremy, how long do you want to give your seller to reply?
5 p.m. tomorrow.
5 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so we'll type in 5, click p.m. and tomorrow's the 24th. In witness whereof, I usually just leave this blank. This would be if Jeremy had a power of attorney, or if I had a power of attorney for him, I could attach it. Or if I don't have it, I can say I'm delivering it within such and such calendar days. But this normally does not get filled out in most situations. So Jeremy's the buyer. We're going to put his name here, and I'll have to send this to DocuSign. I'm not going to put his address, email, fax, but we can. If you are representing your buyer, put your email. You don't want to put the buyer's information out there for the seller or seller's agent to contact them. Seller is where the seller would sign, so you don't have to do that. Buyer's agent company. So you are acting as your own buyer's agent, aren't you? We're going to put Jeremy Beggs, and your company is, we can actually tab over Homegate Real Estate. Jeremy, do you know your license number? 988, I think it's 45. And the LLR office code for Homegate Real Estate is 21531. You can always look that up on llr.gov. And this is where Jeremy would put his email address, realestate.com. And what's your phone number?
508.
Is that your work phone number?
No.
843 900 1392. Okay. Now, this is interesting because we're also the seller's agent. Let's show you where we would get the seller's agent information. So this would be a good way to do it. For the other agent, it would be down here, list agent, and then you can just copy and paste over to zip forms. And Jeremy is with Homegate Real Estate. Oh, look at that. 26315. Oh, that's the CTAR number. Homegate Real Estate. Now, seller's agent license number and LLR office code. Is that over here? Nope. So we would need to go to llr.sc.gov, and we would have to look up a license. Let's go to Real Estate Commission, select, and this is where we would find the other agent. Let's pretend that Paul Tippett is the other agent. Parking meters. These are always fun, aren't they? I really missed a parking meter. Are you serious? Jeremy, am I missing a parking meter?
Not that I can see.
Let's just pretend. Motorcycles. Bicycles, okay. They probably thought that mailbox was a parking meter. Find. All right. See? Now we're going to click on Paul Tippett's and we're going to pretend that he is the other agent. And I'm going to copy his license number over here. And then LLR office code, that would be for the office that he works with. And we'll say, oh, I put it over here. Homegate Real Estate, just click on that. And this is the office code 21531. And put it back over here. See? I was right, 21531. I had it memorized. I don't expect you all to have that memorized. Don't feel bad if you don't have it memorized. Sellers, agents, email address. Again, we can find that over here at the listing. Just copy it. And paste. And then we can find Jeremy's phone number if we didn't already have it memorized. And that is your offer. All 9 pages of it. And then you just save this and add it to DigiSign, send it over, and you're good to go. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Bye.